CO, Halito. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to Fridays. Flambeau Fridays. Okay. I appreciate y'all tuning in with me. I'm feeling the spirit, even though it's supposed to be snow and ice and shit. I had to cook. I'm gonna show y'all what I was cooking. Well, I cooked this. Peace to everybody in the chat. Peace to everybody in the chat. Peace to everybody who's tuning in, who will tune in later. How y'all doing? It's Friday. We supposed to be snowed in and all of that good shit. But it's still Carnival, MardiGras season. So, y'all doing all right? Peace to everybody observing and those in the chat. I'm late because I was cooking. I got some crock pot meals going. I done had cooked some shit on the stove, and I'm gonna show y'all some other shit that I was cooking. Some good shit, since it is MardiGras Carnival season. Yeah, I was cooking that homemade from scratch jambalaya. Yes, fire. Made by me from scratch, baby, and some stuffed peppers. So that's what I've been cooking. We gotta have some food to munch on. I did these. I put them on the stove to warm them up. But yeah, it has chicken sausage. Yeah. And then this week coming up, I'm gonna make some with the shrimp, the chicken, and the sausage. I love crab. I love crawdads, crawfish. I do, but I love crab legs. Crab legs is my shit. So I will be throwing some in there, but I tried to plate it for y'all. And by my little bar. But yeah, that's me making that shit from scratch. What Creole Cajun dishes do y'all know how to cook? Peace, Chico. Peace. Happy Fridays, Defy Fridays, Flambeau Fridays. Okay, so the subject matter is about rum, yes, and bourbon. I don't know if y'all can see this, but rum and bourbon. I also have some of that Baron Samedi rum. What y'all know about the Barons? The Barons. So we're gonna talk about rum and bourbon. Rum from the sugar cane. Our ancestors was, our land was rich with sugar cane fields and all kind of fruits, vegetables, roots, all that goodness. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I am going to bring up some of the things in the Creoles fusion. We got, okay, if you ever get a spiritual reading from me, life path reading, all right, let me take off this so y'all can see what I'm putting up. I'm going to take my little background down just so y'all can see a little bit. But let me stop this for a minute. So the New Orleans Voodoo, it's a nice fusion, right? So got my cup, I'm ready. So we got the Voodoo, which is dealing with the spiritual forces of nature. And then, yes, we got the Hoodoo that's dealing with the herbs and roots. And they also have spiritual properties. Okay. So if you get a reading from me around Carnival, MardiGras season, and Dia de los Muertos, you're going to get this deck. And you're going to get it. You might get this one. This one has like a little bit of Umbanda from, of course, you're going to have some Haitian voodoo in here. You're going to have some Umbanda and Santeria. You're going to have some from Brazil in here. So I use decks that are culturally relevant to my bloodline ancestors, that Creoles energy. So the Loas and the Orishas. This is like a gumbo pot. It has stuff from Haiti, Louisiane, Brazil, all of the diaspora, different spiritual energies. So you're gonna get these two around this time. And Day of the Dead, Fête Gede is the French Creole version, and then Dia de los Muertos is the Creoles Mestizo version of Day of the Dead, Feast of the Ancestors. And that's when I also bring the Toltec Oracle out, and I also have some Santa Muerte decks. All right. And of course, I'm going to have the American Indian, all right, decks. So I do spiritual readings. They are spiritually, culturally relevant to my ancestors. And the cards are just visuals. Visuals, y'all. Just visuals. I dyed my hair. Y'all don't see no black. Y'all don't see no gray. I just got to put that disclaimer out there. I dyed my hair black like I always do. And I flat ironed it a little bit. And yes, I'm still representing that purple, gold, and green. And yes, I went to Grambling State, but some of my family members went to LSU. And they still stay in Baton Rouge today. So I love this hat because it got the sparkly purple sequins in the gold. And I got me some beads. Throw me some, mister. Throw me some, mister. Anyway, so I'm representing, and y'all might see me wearing this all Carnival, MardiGras season. Y'all might see me wearing this, right? Yeah. Yeah, I love that skull represents the ancestor. So, all right. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. This is just me vibing with y'all. It's Flambeau Fridays, Fire Fridays, Defy Fridays, Pho Fridays. That's just fire in Creole language. All right. So I already showed y'all the books, and I have cards. All right, I have cards to go with that. Now, around this time, yes, you hear people talk about Papa Legba and things of that nature. I get into the issues. All right, we got the female issue, Maria Seven Crossroads. I rocks with that energy heavy Maria Seven Crossroads, Pampajira energy. This is equivalent to Baron Samedi and Mama Brigitte. Okay, if you tap into voodoo, whether that's Louisiana voodoo or Haitian voodoo, you're going to hear about the couple at the crossroads, or the couple that's at the crossroads, at the gateway to the cemeteries. All right, kind of like intermediaries between you and the dead, or the spiritually transitioned. Okay, you're going to deal with the female and the male aspect. All right, they're just like guardians, they're guides. Okay, they're guides. So yes, I rocks with them heavy. And she go hard for women that's in trouble. Like women that it's just the energy of Great Spirit. Great Spirit is personified in like different attributes. Like you're a mother, you're also a sister, a cousin. You might be a teacher. You might have all these titles. Those are different. Those titles exercise or exemplify different attributes in different parts of your personality. So these are different parts of Great Spirit, the creatress, creators, source of all things, different attributes. The feminine and the masculine. It's always a balance, feminine and masculine. It's always a balance. Always a balance. So that's one of my other names. Maria Seven Crossroads. The female issue is Maria Seven Crossroads, Pambajira. So since it's Carnival, MardiGras time, we taking a little pit stop here, okay? New Orleans Voodoo Tarot. Don't be scared of the word voodoo. It's just the spiritual forces of nature. All right. Spirit is air, fire, earth, water. These are just elements that they personify them to describe. Even in Christianity, they got all these names for the character Jehovah. You got Jehovah Jireh, their provider, Jehovah Nisi, all these different attributes that they're saying. They got that from our ancestors, okay? Indigenous and Creole ancestors, okay? Our spirituality and culture. So since it is Carnival, MardiGras season, yes, I'm sharing. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of herbs and roots. Yes, they have properties to heal you, because anything can be either medicine or poison. You choose. Just like herbs and roots, it can be healing medicine or it can be poison. And they also have spiritual properties, because plants, vegetables, and roots, they do have life in them, right? So you get a spiritual session from me, a spiritual reading from me, I go hard and I tap into the spirituality and culture of my ancestors. So that's just to usher y'all in to Carnival, MardiGras time, because we celebrating, we count down up until Fat Tuesday, MardiGras. That's the end. That's the end of just going all out in the celebratory energy. And I've been cooking. I've been cooking my favorite foods. And this was also my mama's recipe that I kind of revamped. But because I like mine real spicy. Me and my daddy, we rocks with the spicy. But we're gonna get into the rum and bourbon and the famous drinks of New Orleans, the NOLA. If you go to the NOLA anytime, you can get these drinks. It's just highlighted, around this time in Fekete, the Haitian Creole version of Day of the Dead, Festival of the Ancestors, Feast of the Ancestors. So, I need to be pulling up my disclaimer, but while I'm pulling that up, this is what I cooked. Some jambalaya and some stuffed peppers. It's chicken and chicken sausage, and some herbs and spices. All right. And we got some rum. All right. I had some of this during Haitian Independence Day when we celebrated that. So I made this stuff from scratch. Let me pull up my disclaimer. Thank y'all for tuning in. Those who are in the building now and those who will tune in later, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. What y'all doing? Where y'all at? Is it supposed to storm? Be a winter storm where you are? A snow or ice storm? Share. It's supposed to be it's real cold. It's cold as outside. Yes. You miss being on TV. Okay, I'm on live right now. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, excuse me. It's my daddy. All right. Pulling up my disclaimer and then we can get started. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me on my Fire Fridays. We count down to MardiGras. Carnival. So we count down to, I'm getting to my disclaimer. Bam. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, education, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay. So we got that out the way. So I'm just going to visit this little site, and it does have, yes, the famous one is, yes, the hurricanes. The hurricanes. But you also have other drinks. And I'm going to pull it up. Okay, right here. All right, so we're talking about, okay, we're getting into the drink. So the subject matter is this. This is the sugar cane. You make rum from the sugar cane. Our ancestors owned sugar cane fields, property, land, etc., colonizers came in and, you know, they made plantations, etc., and had them working on the fields, etc. And if you watch my live about the Haitian Revolution, how the Haitians, the Taino and Arawak, Carib, and other dark indigenous peoples of Hispaniola, what they call Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, before there was that line there, there were dark indigenous tribes of all shades, from the lightest brown to the darkest brown. And they end up calling them a misnomer name, the Maroons. So they had a lot of sugar plantations. So you make rum from this. Rum is a staple in the diaspora, the Caribbean islands, and of course, Louisiana. Okay? So we got different rums, and then, yes, Bourbon Street. So that is the topic of today. People make rum cakes. They do a lot of things with sugar and with rum. All right. Bourbon, you can make some things. You can, the daiquiris. The daiquiris. Have y'all had the daiquiris? I love the daiquiris. Okay. The amaretto sour one. And then they used to call this the suicide drink, where it was all of the flavors of the daiquiris all in one. You mixed them all in one. And I went to a HBCU. It's really a HNCU, historically Negro college, Grambling State University. And we always had our Bayou Classic in New Orleans every year. It was our big game against Southern University. The Grambling State University Tigers against Southern Jaguars. Okay. Every year we went to New Orleans, and even for MardiGras time. So, but that's in Louisiana. That's when I got introduced to those daiquiris, those frozen daiquiris. Like, don't nobody make them like them. Nobody. I don't care what you say. Where you at? Don't nobody make them like that. But they got rum in it too. So, all right. So we're going to dip into these famous drinks. All right. So we do have some rum. This one is from St. Croix. All right. Aged dark rum. All right. The darker it is, the richer it is, the more aged. That's just like tequila. That's one of my favorite drinks of choice. And I love the añejo. I love mezcal. I love the añejo and the reposado. It's been sitting and getting ripened, just rich and aged, just like rum. And people love bourbon and even whiskey. They like stuff to be aged in barrels and everything, right? So the famous drinks of New Orleans, Carnival, MardiGras season, all right? So famous New Orleans cocktails, all right? So, all right, he's just talking about the Royal Street Pharmacy in the 1830s, all right, or the saloons, the truth behind the Sazerac, all right, that is a famous cocktail, famous drink of New Orleans, Louisiana, all right, so. And he talks about also these other drinks, brandy with chicory coffee. If y'all have some Cafe du Monde, they also have chicory coffee. I got some Cafe du Monde. I love you. So they have the chicory coffee and okay, so these are the famous drinks. We went over absinthe last time because it's made from wormwood, which kills parasites. So we did talk about that last week about absinthe. It has wormwood and some other ingredients. I can't remember right now. My daddy was distracting me. Excuse me. Okay. So, so this is a famous drink. Absinthe, a little bit of absinthe in some drinks is like a staple. Okay, so they got the brandy milk punch, the cafe roulette diabolique, the Creole Bloody Mary. Bloody Marys are fire. When I used to be on my vodka kick, I like spicy Bloody Marys. Bloody Marys is kind of like a michelada, and I love a spicy michelada. That's with beer and like the Bloody Mary mix. It's like tomatoey, got peppers and hot sauce, tahini, and I love the straws with the candy on it. Stop playing. Don't get me started. But with the Bloody Mary, it don't have the sweet and sour and spicy like the michelada, which I love, but the Bloody Mary has the salty, the tart, and I love the olives. I love the olives. You get martinis, you get them dirty with the olive juice. Fire. So Creole Bloody Marys is spicy. It's gonna have a lot of pepper. All right, peppers, different types of peppers. And of course, the hurricane. You can't, every Mardi Gras Carnival season, I got to play Hurricane. But you can call me Slurricane. The click, be legit, E40 in the click. Yes, you got to play that song. Every Mardi Gras, every Carnival season, you have to play it. It is a staple. It is a statement song, okay? So you have the hurricanes, you have the mimosas, you have the mint julep, you have the daiquiris. And the daiquiri is a classic Cubano cocktail from the diaspora, the Caribbean islands, that was easily adopted and adored in the city of New Orleans. New Orleans is a pot of gumbo. If your people are from Louisiana, you got a gumbo pot of bloodlines up in you. Okay? I know that I do. So that's a good one, the daiquiris. And then you have, this is Pim's Cup. This is, okay. Siri, turn yourself off. I did not call you. Exit stage left, Siri. I hate when Siri just be popping up. Bitch, I didn't call you. Excuse me. All right. So we also have Ramos Gin Fizz and the Sazerac and the Vucar Cartel. Vucar Cocktail. Okay, let's look at the Sazerac. Because this is a famous one. This is a staple. Right here. This is a staple. All right. All right. Let me see. Okay. Let me make sure I can hear. Because I'd be mad if I was doing all that talking. Because sometimes they be fucking with shit. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. I can hear myself. All right. So we live. All right. The Sazerac. This is a staple New Orleans drink around MardiGras Carnival time. All right. So the official cocktail of New Orleans is the Sazerac. Let's break down. Let me pull out my little readers. I don't wear glasses for real, but getting a little older, you might be getting you some readers. Okay. All right. Okay. This story goes that back in 1838, Creole apothecaries, which we went over last time, apothecaries, hoodoo, voodoo, pharmacies, drugstores that our ancestors had for healing purposes. They had a lot of natural herbs and roots, etc., tonics, etc. All right, so it says back in 1838, Creole apothecary, okay, Antoine Pachad invented the Sazerac in his shop at 437 Royal Street. They say he first served it to his fellow Masons after hours in an egg cup. A coquetier, a word that some insist morphed into cocktail. So they say that this was the word before y'all was using cocktails. Y'all heard the song by Too Short Cocktails? Side note. But okay. So this is the precursor, the pre to the word cocktails. All right. All right. It morphed into cocktail. The name, the drink becomes, the name of the drink comes from Pachad's favorite French brandy, Sazerac de Forget et Felice. All right. Somewhere along the line, American rye whiskey was substituted for the cognac. Now, I love me some yak. Take it from Ice Cube, sipping on yak. Yes. It's a time and a place to sip on yak, right? It's a time and a place. So if I have to do dark brown liquor, I'm gonna do some yak, some cognac. But how they gonna try to substitute whiskey? Like whiskey and brandy and bourbon is cool, but you can't substitute cognac to me. You cannot. All right, so in 1873, the bartender Leon Lemons added a dash of absinthe called the Green Fairy, which we went over last week, for its color, and the misnomer Black Death for its licorice flavor. Absinthe was banned in 1912 for allegedly causing hallucinations. Our ancestors did ingest herbs and roots, and some of them did take you on a shamanic journey. Okay? They did take you on a trip, right? So this is why they banned absinthe, and we talked about that last week, okay? So it helps you tap into the spiritual realm. Just like when people smoke different herbs, it helps them tap into the spiritual realm. All right. So when you drink libations, liquor, it's infused with some spirits. So you're going to go on a trip. All right. Soon after, Pachad's special bitters was substituted in its place. So instead of putting absinthe, everybody got all these bitters. You know, they selling that shit in different liquor stores. I see all these bitters. But before they had those bitters, they was using absinthe. And it's made with wormwood, star anise, green anise, and some other items. And you would drink it with sugar cubes, okay? So the Sazerac had French cognac, French brandy, absinthe, all right, and something that had a licorice flavor. Some people put licorice in their absinthe. They do wormwood, anise, and some people put licorice or fennel in there, okay? Absinthe, okay, we talked about that. So this is the Sazerac. It was named after dude's favorite drink, right? His favorite French cognac. All right. All right, so they do have the Sazerac House, Sazerac Week, the taste, and then here's the recipe. Sazerac recipe: 1 cube of sugar, 1.5 ounce of Sazerac. We gonna do yak cognac. We're not gonna do whiskey. We can do rum or bourbon as a substitute. Okay, and then they said herb scent instead of absinthe. Okay, so absinthe has some herbs in it. I will substitute and put the original absinthe right here. 1/4 of absinthe, 3 dashes. Well, they said the bitters substituted that, but they got herb saint, 3 dashes of absinthe or these funky ass bitters, and then a lemon peel. All right, this is how you make the famous Sazerac. It is the cocktail of New Orleans. All right, the staple cocktail of New Orleans. Peace, peace, peace. Yep, that's why they call it spirits. Yes, 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 yes. Yep, yep. Peace, pony locks. Yeah, so that is the famous drink of New Orleans, the Sazerac. And they have some other drinks on here too, but this is the official cocktail of New Orleans. So we had to go over that one. All right, so let's do the hurricane. We kind of went over the hurricane a little, and then we're going to go over the daiquiris and the Creole Bloody Marys, because I love me some Bloody Marys. I do. The cocktail, the liquor, spirits, that is. All right, so with the hurricane, let's go to the hurricane. All right, you always got to play some Be Legit and E40 in the click when you sipping on hurricanes. Seth or RRJXI tips. All right. All right, so New Orleans signature drink recipe of the hurricane. Be blown away by one of NOLA's most famous cocktails. What is the hurricane cocktail? We went over this. Basically, this local libation is created with rum. Okay, some rum, baby. It's created with rum. All right, it is served with a big old cherry and a juicy orange slice. This local libation was created with rum at Pat O'Brien's bar during World War II when whiskey was hard to come by. The name of the drink came from the glass it was served in that resembles a hurricane lamp. A perfect place to sip a hurricane is still Pat O'Brien's legendary courtyard. Been there, loved it, it's beautiful. Overlooking the flaming fountain. You can find them elsewhere around the city as well, and most bartenders will be happy to mix you one. Also try the frozen ones through the daiquiri stands in the French market. All right. So, yes, traditional hurricane. We gonna use rum. When you making a hurricane, you're gonna use rum. That's it. All right. It's blasphemous if you don't use rum for hurricane. Okay. All right. So 2 ounces of light rum, 2 ounces of dark rum. Oh, they mixing light and dark. Oh, they doing that mixture. Passion fruit juice, orange juice, fresh lime juice, simple syrup, grenadine, and garnish with the orange slice and cherry. Now, yeah. So you can buy their mix, but it's kind of like fruit punch, your own fresh fruit punch with the lemon, orange, and passion fruit juice. Kind of like, if you want to get ghetto with it, get you some Hawaiian punch. Add you some lemon juice, some lime juice, some orange juice in your rum. Okay? That's if you want to go to the other side with it, right? So that is, of course, some famous liquor. So let's look at this. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay. I'm pulling up this we're going to look at the sugar cane and the sugar plantations. Okay, so of course you have colonizers coming in and doing shit, right? So just look on this. By the way, this is just the unique NOLA tours, but stay tuned because my cuz Chatupai, he gonna have them New Orleans tours. Those Creole, Indigenous, really he gonna have Indigenous tours. Indigenous tours in New Orleans, Louisiana. Stay tuned. All right, so this is breaking down these old Jesuits in the rum in New Orleans, okay? Okay. All right. So they do take you on this tour, right? It's unique NOLA tours, loves to tell stories not often told. Very early in New Orleans history, a group of priests really got the colony rolling. Right off Canal Street, where the Roosevelt Hotel sits today, was the edge of an enormous sugar plantation. It was the purview of some brave clergymen who had come to the New World on a mission. These plucky, pesty priests supported themselves with the proceeds of sugar syrup and a sort of rum called tafia. This would have been in 1751, about 200 years earlier. St. Ignatius Loyola started the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits, inspiring them to be self-denying, tough, prayerful, and absolutely dedicated to the papacy. They were commanded to be as obedient as a corpse, but they wanted to fucking drink. But anyway, okay, so this is just an overview of this little tour where they had a sugar plantation. But let's I'm just showing y'all overview of this. We ain't really giving them, no shine like that. Let me pull up this other thing real quick, because we don't want to give but this shit, colonization did happen. They did come in and fuck up some shit and tried to take some shit like it's theirs. But our ancestors grew that what they blood, sweat, and tears and work, sweat off their brow, you know. Um, so let's look at this. All right, let me pull this up. So we got sugar making in Louisiana, and we have sugar plantations in Louisiana. And then sugar and slavery, molasses to rum to slaves, indentured servants. Let's look at that one too. We're going to look at this right here. We're going to look at this about sugar and slavery, molasses to rum and slaves. We're going to look at that. And we're going to look at this. Sugar plantations in Louisiana. And we did briefly talk about sugar plantations on my podcast that did the Haitian Independence Day, the Haitian Revolution. Okay, with the sugar plantations. But this is sugar plantations in Louisiana. Let's see how this is 15 pages. Let me see. Okay, let's just read this and then I'm going to skim through and get the meat and potatoes, okay? Because this is, once again, if you're just tuning in, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Sio, Halito, greetings to everybody. Sava, what's up? All that. This is the subject. Sugar cane rum, Bourbon Conjure, Hoodoo, Voodoo, in Louisiane. Ayizan. All right. So I love how the similarities and the parallels, the crossroads of Louisiana and Haiti is just so rich. It's just so rich. The similarities. So this is what we're going over. Sugar cane, rum, bourbon, the famous drinks of New Orleans, the spirits. All right. This is what we're going over today in the spirit of Carnival and MardiGras. All right. So here we go. Sugar plantations in Louisiana. All right. Y'all see his name? Okay. For over 200 years, planters have experimented with sugarcane cultivation on plantations in Louisiana. Their success and failure and their location of enterprise and product are all related to a variety of geographic factors. The purpose of this paper is to interpret the origins, dispersals, the landscape, morphology of sugar plantations in southern Louisiana. The sugar plantation landscape centers upon the better drained natural levees of streams within the lower Mississippi River floodplain. The cane sugar region encompasses nearly 12,000 square miles in 20 parishes, where over 300,000 acres are utilized for sugarcane cultivation. Like beads on a string, plantations with a repeating morphology line the banks and streams throughout the area. Historically, sugar plantations first appeared in the vicinity of New Orleans. Plantation agriculture in the area had been organized early in the 1730s with tobacco and indigo concessions. We talked about tobacco and indigo in another installment that I did. But these were crops that our ancestors did. They did cultivate them for themselves before the colonizers came, right? Okay. And okay, they still got to partake. It was just, indentured servitude, and then in some cases, slavery. All right. These formed a plantation based upon which sugarcane could be commercially produced. Oh, wait a minute. It's acting like it want to go out. But we got to give shout out to the brown Madonna, misnomer the black Madonna, Urzuli Dantor. She ain't nothing to fuck with. All right. It's just the feminine aspect of Great Spirit. Okay. So back on track. All right. So tobacco and indigo. All right. They were working and cultivating tobacco and indigo. All right. These formed a plantation base upon which sugar cane could be commercially produced. In 1742, New Orleans became the point of reception and initial cultivation for the first canes introduced by these Jesuits from Saint Domingue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they came from Saint Domingue, which is Haiti. Okay, Haiti. All right. They stole game from our Haitian relatives over there. Okay. Also in the New Orleans area, Louisiana's first sugar planter experimented with sugar cane cultivation in 1740s, and later in 1795 produced granulated sugar on a commercial plantation scale. Prior to these significant events, other plantation crops declined and thus enabled sugarcane to become the primary plantation crop of southern Louisiana. So this is why another reason why rum is celebrated. Haitian rum and just rum of the diaspora is celebrated. Like I said, our ancestors worked those plantations. They actually owned them before the colonizers, but their blood, sweat, and tears, the sweat off their brow, is in that sugar cane. All right. So it says, little is known of the distribution of plantations before 1803, but by that year, 75 sugar enterprises of various sizes were distributed along both banks of the Mississippi River. The northward expansion of contiguous sugar plantations by 1806 was probably no further than 35 miles north of New Orleans. Even there, sugar was being planted less than cotton. Sugar cultivation intermittently extended northward 15 miles above Baton Rouge to Point Coupee Parish. Point Coupee Parish, where an outpost of former tobacco enterprises commercially produced cotton, lumber, and sugar. So these are things that our ancestors prized was tobacco, sacred tobacco. I did an installment on the sacred tobacco ceremony. Our ancestors honored tobacco. All right. And it was the man and the woman and the man that created tobacco in those oral tradition stories. Okay. And we got to have, these are like some of the staples of some of our spirituality and culture, especially in Creole, Creoles, spirituality. And to just group it all together, Melungeon spirituality, that whole pot of gumbo is you got to have tobacco as an offering to Great Spirit. You use it to say prayers and affirmations. You also pour libations. You use the liquor. This is the fermented sugar cane and fruits and berries, herbs and roots. All right. We use those in spiritual practices, in spiritual ceremony. We use tobacco and the spirits of liquor. All right? We use that. And it's very sacred to us. Okay. Now, it says the plantation landscapes of the sugar region west of the Mississippi did not develop until 1812, when planters from the upland Anglo-American South began to arrive in Louisiana. And I read this on one of my installments how after the Haitian Revolution, and even before then, like the Port of Orleans was like a hub. People was coming to Louisiana. And I read on the installment about the Creoles of color. It was talking about the indigenous people of color coming from the diaspora into Louisiana, like from Saint Domingue, Haiti, Hispaniola, from Haiti, the Dominican, Cuba, the islands, the Caribbean islands, etc. They came into the Port of Orleans, into Louisiana. I read it in, I believe, the Creoles of Color installment that I did. So, okay. So this is talking about also, all right, when people began to arrive in Louisiana. Attracted by the cheap public lands of Terrebonne or Terrebonne Parish, Terrebonne, the lower Bayou Tech region, Bayou Techi. I may be pronouncing that wrong. Forgive me. My French ain't that strong no more. All right. I use little Creole words, little French, very little. I don't use it every day. They say if you don't use it every day, you lose it. All right. Okay. In the backlands of the upper Bayou, La Forche, and the Anglos came as land speculators such as Jim Bowie, blah, 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 as would-be planters. And I've been trying to like miss some of their names on purpose, but we're going to get to the meat and potatoes. Between 1812 and 1850, they entered southern Louisiana by water, traveling on the Mississippi and on the western bayous. The rich, arable lands which they found along portions of these waterways thus became the initial plantation sites where Anglo planters settled. Yeah, but it was already indigenous peoples there. They call them Creoles and etc. today. The westward expansion of the plantation landscape reached only as far as the natural levees of Bayou Teche. A further westward expansion was discontinued because lands west of the Teche were not included in the Louisiana Purchase, the illegal Louisiana Purchase. Until 1819, they were still in the possession of Spain and later remained as a no man's land buffer between the U.S. territory and the Spanish holdings farther west. Also, the drainable portions of the southwest Louisiana physiographical. I can't even talk right now. I think this is physiographically composed of Pleistocene terraces, were not well suited for sugarcane because of the poor organic composition and hard pan character of the soils. Other factors, such as limited navigability, of streams, how the streams navigate it, all right? The lack of good alluvial floodplain soils and distance from New Orleans market would have been additional limiting factors even if the territory had been included in the illegal Louisiana Purchase. Furthermore, it was not until 1880 that the region west of the Teche was effectively settled, and even then by Midwestern grain farmers who took up the cultivation of rice. The southern extent of sugar plantations in southern Louisiana was restricted by the extent of drainable lands, all of which are characterized by a progressive narrowing of natural levees, averaging a quarter-mile wide or less. Thus, at points of extreme levee narrowing, sugar cultivation was terminated. The sugar plantation expansion north of the Red River area and the conversion from cotton to sugar for plantations came in the 1830s and 40s with the fall of cotton prices. The northernmost sugar parishes and lower portion of the cotton region evolved into transition zone where fluctuations in prices could cause one crop to advance and the other to retreat. Before 1825, cotton prices had remained relatively high. Consequently, sugar was held back by the high price tide of the cotton crops. Between 1826 and 1832, however, cotton prices fluctuated downward, giving way to the slight northward expansion of sugarcane. Further expansion of the sugarcane industry came into 1840s when cotton prices fell from 15 cents to 5 cents per pound. By 1844, Louisiana had more than 700 full-fledged sugar plantations in operation. And I know Saint Domingue, Haiti, Hispaniola, they had a lot of sugar plantations. I forgot how many. I read it. But it said that by this time they had like 700. All right. Sugar plantations. Although new and converted sugar plantations developed northward deep into the cotton parishes in the 1850s, the inevitable was to happen, a northern limitation of the expansion. Sugarcane, a tropical crop, requires 12 or more months of growing season to reach its full maturity. Louisiana, at best, provides a 10-month growing season in its southernmost parishes. Therefore, the northern areas are extremely marginal. Exceedingly critical is the first frost and freeze, which, if too early, can cause sucrose contents to diminish and sour. Although molasses can be made from the frost-damaged cane. All right, so you can still get molasses from it, all right? Granulated raw sugar has always been the product desired by the planters, all right? In the early 19th century, planters had not ascertained the northern limits for successful production. Consequently, some sugar cultivation extended beyond the critical frost limits. The northern expansion of sugar plantation ended abruptly in 1856 when a severe early frost devastated the entire sugar region. The plantations along the northern fringes later reverted to cotton, a safer, more conducive crop for the northern margins of sugar cultivation. Today, the northern climate boundary is fairly well delimited by the frost-free 250-day Ayisyen and by the average first frost date of November 16th. Note, all three lines converge at Meeker, the northernmost sugar plantations in Louisiana. Okay. So basically, they just talking about the sugar plantations. It says very little expansion, dispersal, or otherwise significant movement of the sugar plantations went very far east of the Mississippi. In only one small area in the parishes northeast of Baton Rouge did the sugar industry expand. And even then, the movement was short-lived. Plantations here were limited by poor Pleistocene terrace soils, early frost, and economy long based on cotton, and early cultural separation from southern sugar areas. The Civil War, cane diseases, and consolidation of enterprises caused the number of plantations to fluctuate from over 1,000 in antebellum period to the present 190, while the plantation region today essentially covers the same general area as it had in 1844. And so they're just talking about the sugar plantation morphology. All right. Okay, the sugar plantation today exhibits a landscape complex of distinctive visual settlement features. Towering over the cane fields, the sugar house chimneys denotes the location of a sugar factory, an agricultural factory in the field. A cluster of barns and sheds surround the sugar house, forming a centrally located outbuilding complex. Nearby is the quarters, a village grouping of nearly identical laborers' dwellings. So they had houses and dwellings where they worked on the plantations. They had their own houses and dwellings there, okay, which is either centered upon a single road in a linear pattern or grouped in a block pattern based on a grid of streets in a location separate and exclusive from the other buildings in the settlement complex. The mansion, a prominent structure, is set amid moss-draped oaks. On larger plantation enterprises, a company store and sometimes a church are located or a near plantation holdings. Extensive fields covering hundreds, even thousands of acres, unbroken fences stretch long and narrow from levee crests at the stream banks to back swamps, okay, bayous, downslope from the streams. Long straight ditches divide the fields and also give them a characteristic linear appearance. The myriad of plantation building, fields, and other features which compose the landscape morphology of plantations can be condensed into a single model. Degrees of cultural association proceed in descending order from mansions with the best diagnostic traits to the next best settlement patterns of linear and block arrangements to quarter houses, sugar houses, outbuildings, stores, churches, fields, and ditches with progressively less cultural identities. So they just talking about, the setup, right? Okay, it says mansions may be of three possible types. Okay. Creole with French identity, Tidewater and upland with Anglo identity. The combination of mansion type with settlement pattern reinforce each other as the two most significant diagnostic landscape traits for the cultural identity of each plantation, although important to the total plantation morphology. The remaining elements fail to contain sufficient diagnostic traits to enable their historic cultural affinity to be accurately determined. Okay, so here they talk about the Creole plantation mansions. All right, and I see the numbers jumping up and down. This is what we're talking about: sugar cane, rum, bourbon, conjure, hoodoo, voodoo in La Louisiane, Ayizan. So we are counting down to MardiGras Carnival, and we are celebrating the different things about Carnival and MardiGras, cultural elements of my ancestors and maybe your ancestors too. Whoever is tuning in, I appreciate y'all. Now, we did share the different drinks, the staples of New Orleans, the Sazerac, the Hurricane, and we did talk about absinthe last week, but the main ingredient to some of these famous drinks is rum. Sugar plantations, sugar fields, sugar crops. Okay, our ancestors handle business. So you have the Haitian rum and you have the Louisiana rum. You have rum from the diaspora. I've seen rum from the diaspora, and I have seen Haitian rum. I need to get my hands on some Haitian rum. But I've had rum from Barbados, all St. Croix, different places in the diaspora. Okay. Sugar cane plantations. Our ancestors owned those sugar cane plantations, the crops, the land, and then the colonizers came in and started trying to do these enterprises and make like major money off of it, right? So that's what I'm reading about if you're just tuning in. We are also looking at this sugar and slavery, molasses to rum to slaves, indentured servants, or in some cases, slaves. We are also looking at, this right here. All right. Creole plantation mansions. Certain diagnostic traits distinguish Creole plantations dwellings from Anglo plantation mansions. On the Creole mansion, chimneys are always located on the inside walls near the center of the roof line. They are never placed on the exterior gabled ends of the house. All front rooms open onto a gallery or porch, so that multiple front doors characterize the front of the structure. Internally, the floor plan may be several rooms long and from 1 to 3 rooms deep, and it distinctly lacks a central hallway inside. All stairs are located on the exterior, never inside. The hip roof gallery and raised 1.5 to 2-story height are features which are inherently French traits on the Creole plantation mansion. The techniques and materials used in the construction of Creole mansions are also diagnostic. Colombage, a French building trait of half timbering, popular in the 18th and early 19th centuries, consisted of the use of heavy cypress timbers, which were pegged together to form the car or frame. Interstices. Are they wanting to say interests? Okay. Between timbers were filled with brick or mud noggin called bousselage. Brick noggin, because of its strength, supported itself in place between the timbers. However, with mud noggin, a tempering of Spanish moss, shells, or lime was necessary to stiffen the mud in addition. So basically, the Creole mansions on a sugar cane plantation they were built different. You could look at it and say, okay, that's a Creole mansion. That's a Creole plantation there. If it looks like something else, that's the Anglo plantation people, the colonizers, basically. All right. Origins of Creole mansions. Antecedents of Creole plantation mansions originated with the basic double room Creole dwelling. Basically, they just are describing it. So, this is what a Creole plantation mansion looks like. Right here. This is an example of a French Creole plantation mansion. So, just like in Haiti, one side was influenced more by the French, and the other side was influenced more by the Spanish. Louisiana has like both. They have a period where the Spanish was running shit, and then they had a period where the French was running shit. So, but on both places in Haiti and in Louisiana, you had indigenous people of all shades, from the darkest brown to the lightest brown. Just like in Haiti, Saint Domingue, Hispaniola, that whole area that they call Haiti and the Dominican Republic today, and the diaspora. So you had the French and the Spanish encroach upon indigenous peoples and basically try to do these money-making ventures and shit, plantations, run these enterprises, okay? But our ancestors already knew how to cultivate their land and everything that goes with that. So the sugar cane, we're talking about MardiGras, Carnival, and the drinks that are made. One of them is the Sazerac, which is the official cocktail of New Orleans, Louisiana. You have the hurricanes made out of rum, French cognac, and rum. Okay. So, and the plantation houses are basically the big houses, and then you had other dwellings around the house and the land. So you had the sugar fields. They used to have, some of them still had sugar and cotton fields, or sugar, cotton, tobacco, and indigo fields. This is what they had there. Okay. So this is just a visual of what a Creole plantation mansion is, what it looks like. Yeah, we know they bleach sugar, but it's and I have some on here too. Right here. I tried to put some right here. Not only did I have the sugar cane and the sugar cane fields, but this is some sugar. But it was more brown. I don't know, something, the filter made it a little lighter, but it was a little brown. All right. Yeah, we know that they do bleach shit. They do. Like they whitewash shit. Just like they whitewash history, etc. All right. So they be on some bullshit, but okay. So French Creole plantation mansion. So our ancestors did, they owned these sugar plantations, the land. They owned the land. They cultivated their own stuff. They were living, for the most part, yes, peacefully. Yes, they had quarrels and different things, natural things, but naturally, everybody ain't gonna get along all the fucking time. But they had their own land. They cultivated their own land, and for the most part, they had times when they did excess, but they did things in moderation, decent, in order, and in balance. And then the colonizers threw the balance way the fuck off. So we are giving a shout out to our ancestors who cultivated tobacco, indigo, cotton, sugar, and other crops, vegetables, herbs, and roots, fruits, and vegetables. My ancestors, to just by example, had their own land. They had all kind of crops. They had a lot of things on their land. And they did not leave their land. It was passed down and passed down and passed down. They did not leave their land. So, shout out to all the ancestors that cultivated and even worked on the plantations that had sugarcane fields, tobacco, indigo, cotton, herbs, roots, and vegetables. All of it. We appreciate y'all. Salute. We share libations. I already poured libations for my ancestors and spirit guides. And I got some libations too. So shout out to my Creole and Creoles Indigenous ancestors. I appreciate y'all for putting in work and surviving and thriving. Yes. So I'm gonna see what else is on here. But basically they just comparing the Creole plantations to the Anglo. So if you saw this is an Anglo plantation house. But I remember these houses right here. These are the Creole plantation mansions. What is it doing here? Okay. And I even oh my goodness. And AI is a trip. Because I put this thing in for me to be sitting in front of a sugar plantation. One of them put me in front of a Creole plantation mansion, and one of them put me in front of a Anglo plantation mansion. Very interesting. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's just interesting to me how they just did that shit. Where is it? Did I share it? Wait a minute. I'm gonna find it. Where is it? I'm gonna find it. Okay, like this one. I put my picture in there and they made this, right? So this is an Anglo plantation one right here. And I wonder, is the other one in this one? This is just me in front of a sugar field. It's my face, but they make my face and my tattoos. It kind of, that's me right there. But they just put different clothes on me. But I need to find it. I'm gonna find it because this is the Anglo plantation version. And okay, so that's the Anglo plantation one. And let me get the other one. I just got, while this is on my mind, I gotta share it. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. But while it is on my mind, I have to share it. And I didn't share. I'm about to share that shit. Where is it? Oh, wait a minute. It might be here. Oh, here. Right here. This one. This one is a Creole mansion. Damn it. I found it. Damn. Where'd it go? Right here. Y'all see that? That is the Creole plantation mansion in the background. This is this style. That's interesting. Because I told AI what I wanted it to do. It's my face and the first from my head to right here. And it did what I told it to do. So this top half is me. And then they added all this, what I told it to add. But I'm just showing this for a reason. Because we reading this about the sugar cane plantations. Because we are talking about rum and bourbon, the libations during Carnival, MardiGras season. But I just think it's interesting. They got this. Now, see, this is more me of this picture. This was me before. This is me kind of right after winter, and then in spring and summer, I got more reddish, oranges hues in my skin tone. But this is me, more naturally looking me, by the Creole plantation mansion. But this one by the Anglo plantation one looks like a whole different version of me. Like they made me look more of the light-skinned Creole. Like AI is interesting, y'all. I just noticed shit. I'm a seer, I'm a reader. I just noticed shit. But like right here, it put me in front of the Anglo plantation sugarcane plantation house. But on this one, which looks truly like me, truly like the picture that I gave them to do, has me in front of the Creole mansion plantation house. I just think that's interesting. Very much so. Very much so interesting. But okay. So they just tell you about the different houses of the plantations, the sugar cane plantation houses, right? And how they are built, what they have on it, right? So, in this one, yep, I got all these Anglo ones. And then they just talk about the patterns, etc. So this is kind of like some science behind the crops and the plantations. This is a Bayou Block Plantations. Sugar plantations in Louisiana. Bayou Block Plantation settlement pattern. Ashland Plantation. And they just talk about these different, how they're set up, basically. How they're set up. So I thought that this was interesting since this is about a celebratory time, celebrating our ancestors' culture and spirituality, and living life to the fullest, like just getting fat and full. Fat Tuesday, MardiGras, leading up to that. Carnival time, celebration. So that was basically, so the references was this statement of sugar made in Louisiane, New Orleans. History of agriculture in the southern United States in 1860. So statement of sugar made in Louisiana. That's the book that they came from for that. Which is right here. Let's see. Like Hathi Trust and Internet Archive. So this is the book that they got a reference from. Statement of Sugar Crop of Louisiana. I'm saving this. Let's see what the table of contents is looking like with the sugar crops. Because while you drinking and enjoying all that rum, it had to come from somewhere. While you enjoying the sweet things in life, it had to come from somewhere, right? Okay, so they did talk about the different parishes, basically. The cane culture. All right. Parishes of Red River. Oh, yeah. West Feliciana. All of these. West Baton Rouge, Iberville, St. James, St. John, St. Charles, Jefferson, Orleans, St. Bernard, Plaquemines, Assumption, La Force. They got all this Lafayette, St. Martin, St. Mary, Vermilion, and they even had a little sugar crops in Texas. All right. And they talk about the sugar trade. So this is just an explanation. I'm going to read this. Each parish has been taken from its head or farthest point from the seashore. Every plantation put a rotation as they occur, coming from one to the other according to their locality on the prairies or bayous in each parish. The river parishes are so arranged as to commence first on the right side, next upon the left side of the Mississippi River. West and East Feliciana and East Baton Rouge are all on the left side of the Mississippi River. One single plantation except W.B. Turnbull's on Red River Island. Point Coupee and West Baton Rouge are entirely on the right side of the Mississippi. The parishes of Assumption and La Force interior are exactly as the river parishes right and left. This is as far as seafaring vessels go, and the distances are given. Please, however, note that sea vessels go into Bayou Teche, as far up as New Iberia, where great quantities of sugar and molasses are shipped and cleared at Franklin Custom House in the parish of St. Mary, direct to the Atlantic markets. So basically, this book just breaks down the sugar cane plantations and the whole business of this, the cane culture. And they even, okay, the name of each post office where planters must be addressed. So they have all this basically. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's one of my family names right there. Just throwing that in there. Brashear or brazier. Yeah. Yeah, we'll look at that. Okay. All right, so this is just an overview. This other one is talking about sugar and molasses. Sugar comes to the New World. It says, ironically, sugarcane is not a plant native to the Americas. It is a perennial grass whose tropical species seem to have originated in New Orleans. Excuse me? No. New Guinea, it says. According to them, a subtropical species in India. That's what they said. You mean Hindustan? All right. During the invasion of Hindustan in 326 BC, Alexander the Greek soldiers became the first Europeans to see sugarcane. Okay, so you have, Hindustan is eastern Ethiopia. Some say northeastern Ethiopia, right? So this is where they saw sugarcane. They said it came from Hindustan and New Guinea. This is what it said. All right. It also says the first, Alexander the Greek and soldiers became the first Europeans to see sugarcane. Honey was the primary sweeteners of the Western world at the time. Arab traders and Moorish conquerors spread the plant throughout the Mediterranean region, introducing it in Spain around 714 AD. Centuries later, under Spanish sponsorship, Colombo is believed to have carried sugarcane stem cuttings from the Canary Islands to Hispaniola on his second voyage. Hispaniola, which is where Haiti is, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, they had sugarcane crops. Okay, it is from a Caribbean island. All right, it says also from the Canary Islands. That's where he got it from, right? And the seed came into Santo Domingo by December 1493. We know they already had this. All right, and it just talks about how these Spanish colonizers spread the crop to Cuba, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, the Tainos in Jamaica and Puerto Rico, and in Cuba. From the darkest brown to the lightest brown of indigenous peoples. The Portuguese introduced sugar cane to Brazil, and received shipments of sugar from Pernambuco. By 1526, sugar was introduced in the 17th century by the Dutch to Guyanans. They will sure try to take some credit, won't they? The Guyanans and the people in Barbados, the indigenous people there, they already had this shit. The French to Martinique and Saint Domingue, Haiti, and the Swedes and Danes of other islands of the Antilles, Jean-Baptiste Le Moyne de Winville, messed that part up, the first governor of French Louisiana, Louisiane. And French Jesuits both introduced sugar cane to Saint Domingue to New Orleans, from Saint Domingue to New Orleans in the 1700s. However, the first commercially successful sugar planter in Louisiana was blah, 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 who produced around 100,000 pounds of sugar in 1795. But how did he do that? Who worked with him and for him? Those dark-skinned indigenous people that they misnomer called Creoles and Maroons and Melungeons, etc. They produced 100,000 pounds of sugar. That motherfucker, he probably didn't do shit. Okay, all right. So this just breaks down sugar plantations, servitude, and slavery. It says slavery and sugar. Sugar planting, harvesting, and processing is tiring, hot, dangerous work and requires a large number of workers whose work habits must be intensely coordinated and controlled. From the very beginning of sugar cultivation in the New World, there were not enough European settlers to satisfy the labor requirements for profitable sugar plantations. American Indians, Native Americans were enslaved to work on the earliest sugar plantations, especially in Brazil. Those who could escaped from the fields, but many more died due to European diseases such as smallpox and scarlet fever and harsh working conditions on sugar plantations. A Catholic priest named blah 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 as King Ferdinand of Spain, and I ain't even gonna say it, but well, he my distant relative, y'all. I did my genealogy a while ago. And I don't be speaking on the shit, but anyway, I did one video where I shared my other ancestors, my Spanish and French and other ancestors from my genealogy. Y'all can find it somewhere. I don't even know if I put it on the list, but I showed my genealogy of those people. But anyway, it says, okay. It says the Catholic priest named blah, blah, blah as King Ferdinand of Spain to protect the Taino Indians of the Caribbean by importing African slaves instead. This is what they say. But I'll let the people that love to talk about this. So, y'all want to examine the text when they say African slaves, because they may mean just dark-skinned indigenous people. These people writing these books, they didn't know all of the names of the indigenous tribes. Yes, clearly they know the Taino Indians in this literature, but I would say dark-skinned indigenous tribes from the diaspora, from the Caribbean on out. All right. So yeah, so it's just interesting. So remember up here, it does tell you, it says Native Americans, American Indians, were enslaved to work on the earliest sugar plantations. And then down here it says provided most of the labor for the sugar industry in the Americas. So it's very interesting how they word things, but they got this part right. Those dark-skinned American Indians were enslaved to work on the earliest sugar plantations. Say it right here. Yep. And it said they provided most of the labor for the sugar industry in the Americas. So there were dark-skinned indigenous people on all 7 continents, y'all. And a lot of these books, they just try to label them all as Africans. And that is incorrect. That is a misnomer. That is an error. That is a mistake. Okay. All right. So this is just interesting. So if y'all want to read about the sugar cane plantations, etc., a lot of things came from this, right? They boiled the cane juice, and how they came up with this shit, right? The recipe, how to do it. They boiled the cane juice, landing the scum from the surface of the scalding liquid and then transferring it from the kettle to the kettle, reducing the syrup to crystals. Servants or slaves routinely suffered burns during this process, often referred to as the Jamaican train. And the heat in the sugar houses was so intense that the servants or slaves were rotated out after 4 hours, their limbs swollen from the heat and humidity. Once the crystals formed, there was still heavy labor ahead. The harder the solid cakes of sugar were, the better the sugar quality. But the pieces had to be broken up with shovels, picks, or crowbars. Finally, sugar was shoveled into hog heads, wooden barrels, and packed solidly before the barrel's holes were plugged with a piece of sugar cane. The sugar cane plug helped the siphon out the remaining molasses from the sugar in the hogshead. The molasses dripped onto a floor angled so it would drain into a trough or cistern. Then the servants or slaves would scoop molasses into barrels by hand. Do y'all hear this shit? Pour some libations for your ancestors, especially your ancestors that ever worked sugar cane plantations and made this beautiful thing called rum. And that sugar that you got all up in your tea and your coffee and your food. This was some hard fucking labor. They had burns. They had to rotate them out every 4 hours. And because this was some hard, laborious work, tedious work. Then they talk about the different trades of molasses and sugar. Sugar stands at the center of the triangle trade. It was the engine that drove the diaspora, the Caribbean sugar plantations, produced molasses that will be transported to other places to be distilled into rum. And it was shipped to the Americas and the diaspora. They mentioned Africa. Wasn't always called that. They also use Akbulan, Akilbulan, etc. Whenever it talks about the islands in Africa, I always say the diaspora, the islands, the indigenous people of those islands. And they were from the darkest brown to the lightest brown. Do your fucking homework. All right. The origins of the word rum may come from sugar via the Latin word for sugar, saccharum. Although the Spanish and Portuguese probably began distilling alcoholic beverages on their sugar plantations at an early date, you fucking right they did. Our ancestors was doing this before the colonizers. The colonizers came in with this brute labor force type shit, like on a whole nother level. Our ancestors was tending to our lands, our earth for a long time. They knew how to work. They knew how to work this shit, right? And it mentions, although the Spanish and Portuguese probably began distilling alcoholic beverages on their sugar plantations at an earlier date, the British in Barbados were producing rum by 1627. They fermented 1.5 gallons of sugar cane molasses with yeast to create a wash that was distilled into 1 gallon of rum. An acre of sugar cane generated enough molasses byproduct during the sugar refining process to produce an average of 200 gallons of rum. So every time you drink some fucking rum, you give a shout out to the ancestors that was slaving by the sweat of their brow, blood, sweat, and tears, getting burns and shit to do this. Nowadays, they have machines and shit to do shit. But that if you come across some aged rum, and even just rum, just shout out your ancestors for putting in the fucking work, laying the groundwork, so that you could, you fucking right. We're gonna party, we're gonna celebrate during Carnival, MardiGras time, because our ancestors put in work. Even before the colonizers, we put in work, but we did it in a much more balanced way. After the colonizers, when they incorporate all this bullshit, when we celebrate, we fucking celebrate. Give a shot, a nod to your ancestors, pour them some libations of that rum. Okay? Of all libation, all liquor, even water, all that. But this good rum right here that we speaking of, pour some libations. Put some respect on our ancestors, okay? Put some respect on their name, especially the ones that worked these plantations and worked the land before that. So this book has a lot of little stuff in it, y'all. Okay, so they're saying this, okay? They made this comparison. Okay, so Brazil had an emancipation of slaves in 1888. All right. And then they say the exception would be Haiti. In the late 1700s, the French colony of Saint-Domingue was one of the most important sugar producers in the world. It sent most of its raw brown sugar. You want some of that brown sugar? I need Celia Cruz right here to say Azúcar right here. I need her to say it right here. Raw brown sugar to France to be refined to meet the rising demand of French consumers. In doing so, it became the wealthiest colony in the New World. And our Haitian ancestors took that shit back too. Yeah. But yeah, hey. Yeah, they got some little history in here. This is interesting. This whole little section right here was page 5. They even talk about East India. They had an assortment of sugar basins. All right. But right here, it's talking about, okay, Haiti, Saint Domingue. All right. It sent most of its raw brown sugar to France to be refined to meet the rising demand of French consumers. In doing so, it became the wealthiest colony in the New World, wealthier than the 13 British colonies of North America combined. Substantial amounts of sugar, rum, molasses went to non-French markets as well, sometimes as smuggled goods. Saint Domingue's prosperity rested on slave labor. Over 500,000, this is what they saying, over 500,000 indigenous servants or slaves, prisoners of war by 1789, with the examples of the American and French Revolution fresh in their minds. These servants, prisoners of war, misnomer slaves of Saint Domingue rebelled against the colony's French planters. You fucking right. In 1791. That's when they started. From 1791 up to that 1804, they was rebelling. They had some moments where they was, getting a little lax, but they was still demanding shit. But them real dark skinned indigenous people, the maroons they called them, kept helping them get their mind right. Like, look, if y'all don't stay on these colonizers' fucking neck, they gonna try to reinstate slavery. They kept reminding them, and they was on that guerrilla warfare shit. We read it early this month when I was celebrating the Haitian Revolution, Haitian Independence Day. Shout out to our Taino, dark-skinned indigenous people of Haiti, that a lot of them did come to Louisiana, the Port of Orleans. They did come to Louisiana and mixed with the Louisiana Creoles there. So a lot of y'all got some Haitian blood or some dark-skinned indigenous blood from the Haitians. And they weren't just Tainos, they were other tribes. Tainos, Arawaks, Caribs, etc. They were all these different indigenous tribes on the Haiti side and the Dominican Republic side. Hispaniola was full of indigenous people from the darkest brown to the lightest brown. But it just talks about this, yeah. But it was richer over there than anywhere else, okay, with the sugar crops and the amounts of sugar, rum, and molasses. Yeah. So let's finish reading this and then we're going to close out. So they even talk about Tucson as, okay? Excuse me. Okay. Dessalines, respect. Okay. So it does talk about, all right. They mention that they rebelled. All right. Haitian Revolution, 1791, started to 1804, etc. All right. Along with other generals and groups of rebels or warrior women and warrior men that fought the fuck back. All right. The darkest indigenous people to the lightest. They destroyed them sugar plantations. And, in planting, you do got to burn the fields, So it was like burning the shit down so it can grow anew. All right. But yeah, they put in that hard labor. Okay, this one observer recalled the most striking feature of this terrible spectacle was a rain of fire composed of burning cane straw in 1801. Yeah, Toussaint proclaimed the abolition of slavery in Saint Domingue, but he knew he needed to restore sugar production. And we talked about this. Dessalines and those that Jean-Jacques Dessalines. All right. Yeah. Now, everybody played their part. We broke this down. Everybody played their part. But at the end of the day, the indigenous people that were in servitude in Haiti, Haiti, they rebelled. Sugar plantations. This is about sugar plantations, rum, it being a staple in New Orleans around MardiGras time, Carnival time. This is why we are discussing this. If you're just now tuning in, peace to you. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Oh yeah, Celia Cruz is my favorite Cuban singer. She is the queen of salsa. Don't get it twisted. All right. She is that. All right. So, yes. So, basically, it said, I'm going to read this shit, but I get pissed off sometimes when I read this. But it talks about, yes, Toussaint proclaimed the abolition of slavery in Saint Domingue, Haiti, but he knew he needed to restore sugar production. Yes, for the people, but sometimes how you do shit be fucked up, right? Which had fallen 80% over the decade of rebellion. And it's kind of like you could look at it like he wanted them to do this, like how you was doing sugar production for the colonizers. Let's do sugar production. One could look at it like this. I'm just saying. I'm not saying this was his whole motive. I'm not. But if you're going to be doing that for the colonizers, let's do that for us. And we be rich and prosper, etc. He was trying to have it like that. But Jean-Jacques Dessalines came through, right? Came through and handled business. All right. So it said over a decade of rebellion, he implemented the system of fermage, leasing abandoned plantations to senior army officers and government workers who would employ sharecroppers. Because remember, they were the indigenous people that owned the land. And then they tried to make them prisoners of war and then slaves, right? Servants and then slaves. And when they started rebelling and shit, they tried to put some respect on them and they started calling them skilled laborers. I read this shit when I was reading about the Haitian Revolution. Then they tried to call them skilled laborers, etc. So now they would employ. They gotta put some respect on it. We need y'all to work. We need y'all to show us the game on how to do this sugar crop plantation shit successfully. We need y'all to show us because y'all the indigenous people of this land. We need y'all to show us how to do this shit, right? So they started employing sharecroppers. This is a word that they try to put some respect on their craft, right? Because they need them to perform the agricultural work. Napoleon, blah, 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 sent an army of 33,000 troops, blah, 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 to reestablish control of the colony. It didn't work, though, boo. Although, he ain't even boo, but it didn't even work. Although Toussaint L'Ouverture was betrayed and died in a French prison in 1803, Nearly 30,000 French soldiers perished from yellow fever, and the French army withdrew. They fucking withdrew. They was like, fall back. Because they fucking lost. The Haitians won the revolution. Shout out to them. And a lot of them came into Louisiana, and we're talking about the sugar cane crops, right? All right. So, Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Henry Christophe declared independence from France on January 1st, 1804. In the Republic of Haiti, the first indigenous, dark-skinned indigenous, Negro indigenous republic in the world, born of prisoners of war, because they were warrioresses and warriors. Yes, they were prisoners of war. Some became servants, some became slaves. But they revolted and they won. All right. It says, General Dessalines tore out the white section from the French flag to symbolize the end of white European domination of Haiti. Yet, white is also the color of refined sugar, bleached sugar, which we know that. Get sugar in the raw, it's gonna be brown. It's gonna be brown. That's what it's gonna be. All right. Yep. So the island of Hispaniola, where Haiti, Saint Domingue, and the Dominican Republic is, that whole area. Yep. Yep, which Haiti shares with the Dominican Republic. Yep. In tearing out the sugary white center of the French tricolor, Dessalines symbolically began the process of separating sugar from slavery. So, this is the person who did this essay. Shout out to them. But I did like this. Sugar and slavery, molasses to rum to slaves. And then this book, we'll go back to this one another day. Got my ancestors, one of my ancestors' name in here. But this is the cane culture, about sugar cane culture. So we read up on that. And so during MardiGras, when you enjoying them fire-ass hurricanes with the rum and them fire-ass saseracs, just remember the ancestors that was producing sugar, molasses, rum, etc., sugar products. Shout out to our ancestors. Laissez les bons temps rouler. Let the good times roll. It's Carnival, MardiGras season. Anybody got any last minute comments or questions? Because we about to roll out. We celebrating.
Yeah, dance with me. Keep it going, Bourbon Street. Hey!
This is me.
All right, MardiGras. Yeah, dance with me. It's Carnival MardiGras time. Subscribe now. It's Carnival. Laissez les bons temps rouler. I hope everyone is having a fantastic time and enjoying all the festivities here tonight. RRJXI tips. Subscribe now. You won't regret staying informed and getting the latest updates, so go ahead and hit that button. Laissez le bon temps rouler. I hope everyone is having a fantastic time and enjoying all the festivities here tonight. RRJXI tips. Subscribe now. You won't regret staying informed and getting the latest updates, so go ahead and hit that button.
So,
Keep it going, Bourbon.
Because guess what? I grew up knowing about my Indigenous and Creole heritage, but I used to be celebrating all them Christian holidays and all them other holidays. I knew about some holidays, but the extent of things, now I go hard. In the last, basically since 2006, 2007, I've been going hard on my ancestors' spirituality and culture and their celebrations and festivities. I've been going hard. That's when I returned home back to my Indigenous and Creole roots. I grew up knowing this, had oral tradition from my ancestors, my grandmother and great grandmother, especially my paternal grandparents and my paternal great grandparents. I grew up knowing them more than my mother's parents. I met them when I was little. But I've been knowing this. And I've been going hard celebrating. Going hard celebrating my ancestors' spirituality and culture since 2006, 2007. I have another channel here on YouTube when I first was just sitting back and observing everybody and just soaking up things. I tapped into a lot of, just watched a lot of people. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of spiritual work in those days. I still do spiritual work, but I did a lot of spiritual work. And then I sat back and I watched and I observed all the master teachers, all the people, the greats, the C.L. Freemans and the Bobby Hemmett's and all of the Moors, the Masons, the Indigenous scholars, all these people I've watched and observed. And in the midst of it all, I have been celebrating and embracing my ancestors' spirituality and culture. And I've done a lot of genealogy research. There are some of my ancestors where I just know it's a first name. That's fucking it. That's the shit that I have asked certain people that are out there that are experts in the shit. I have asked them for help. But all the other ones, I've traced back some of my ancestors back to like 700 something. So especially my daddy's daddy side, they go way back to like 700. So do your genealogy. This is just a reminder as we celebrate. Basically, this is Creole Indigenous time to celebrate MardiGras, Carnival, all of that. Do your genealogy. Learn what your ancestors' spirituality and culture was. What were their holidays, their festivals, their ceremonies? What did they do, etc. And the stuff that resonates with you, flow in that. So I'm celebrating, y'all. It's a celebration. And I don't know if y'all used to watch the Dave Chappelle show, but that was my shit. It's a celebration, bitches. It's a celebration. And I'm celebrating. So we count down to MardiGras Carnival time. So I will see y'all next Fire Fridays, Defy Fridays, Defy Fridays, Fur Fridays, Flambeau Fridays. Yes. And I will do like a general, I got to start back doing this. I will do a general forecast once a month. But I still do spiritual readings, spiritual sessions, life path sessions, or your indigenous astrology, where I deal with the animal spirits versus your zodiac. I compare them. I do indigenous astrology, basically, for your reading. So you can get a reading like that about your indigenous astrology, or you can get a raw life path session with one of these decks. I delve into the American Indian oracles and tarots. Like, this is just one of them. And where's this other one? I got another one here. So I have like the Medicine Woman Tarot. Let me do this. I have the Medicine Woman Tarot. Do those. Yeah. I even have the American Indian, Native American Tarot. I have the Tarot of the Loas and the Orishas. Of course, I got the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot. Yes. And this one has stuff from the diaspora, like from Brazil, Haiti, Louisiana, Haiti, all of that. Umbanda, Santeria, etc. It's a gumbo pot. Yes, I do that one, and of course, I got like 2 different Santa Muerte decks, but I also Toltec Oracle patterned after the codexes of the Americas, Mesoamerica, the Mesoamerican and North and Central South American astrology. I do that. Dealing with the animal spirits versus the zodiac. I do that. And just a raw reading, a raw spiritual reading. I do that. So if y'all want that, I still do that. Y'all can hit me up on my social media. My link tree does have my link. Let's see. It does have the link to my website. I still have my website. It just has a long ass name now. I just included on my link tree. So I always leave the links in the description. So my store is here, but you can look right here. It says for life path and spirituality sessions. You can click here. This is how you can get a reading, or you can go to my link tree. My link tree has all of my links. Wait a minute, here we go. My link tree has all of my links right here. So you can see RRJXI tips, spiritualist, spiritual life coach, oracle artist, creatress of RRJXI tips. This is my YouTube link, my Facebook link, the links, and my shop. All right. And down here is my website, my YouTube podcast. All right. You can click here. It will take you to my website. All right. Spiritual culture, readings, blogs, sacred sites, contact, store, and more. All right. You can come here. All right. These are just, samples of general readings. And some of these are actual anonymous people's readings because they're anonymous. I don't say people's names. because I've done video readings in the past where people will contact me via email or my website. They would give a love gift, and then I would do a private video for them of their reading on YouTube, and it will be a private video, and I will send them the link, and they get their video reading. All right, this is me using the American Indian tarot oracle deck. This is me using the Toltec oracle from Mesoamerica. This is me using the New Orleans Voodoo tarot deck. So, our ancestors, spirituality, and culture. You don't have to be afraid of it. It is beautiful if you know what the things mean. Of course, with anything, there's good and bad in all, and then there is a balance. It's a time to be good, and it's a time to ride. It's a time to fucking show the fuck out. So it just depends. I tell people, it just depends on you. Which part of me you get. It depends on you. So, all right. So we got that. This is me going, on my journey to the Yucatan. And then I have just you get different little snippets on here. Just me tapping in and sharing with y'all animal spirits or animal totems, animal spirits versus the zodiac. I compare those, etc. I did this promotion, love offerings. If you do $199, you get 3 sessions within 1 month. And on some cases, I have done it within 2 months' time. You can get 3 readings in 2 months. All right, it comes with homework, your monthly forecast, all that shit. It comes with all this, right? So I've been doing this promotion. Some people get this, and some people just do the 99 suggested love gift for a spiritual session. And I have to update this. So this is just a taste of my website. So shout out to my great cousin. All right, my partnership channel, y'all know, Southeastern Talking Stick podcast, and me and my cousin have an advertisement promo page to advertise our businesses, my spiritual work and her spa work. All right, Master's Table Talk. All right, it's an advertisement promo page. That's what it is. To promote my stuff, my products, and her stuff and her products. Her services, my services. Okay. So it's just different things over the years. Okay. And I got a lot of blog posts about oral tradition stories, etc. When I was a special guest, some of my interviews that I've done over the years, etc. So I'm going to close out on that. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, I did tap into it before 2006. When I've had some experiences even before 2006, even when I was young and growing up, but it kept getting interrupted. I kept having intermissions with the battle of Abrahamic religions in there. But I've experienced a lot with Indigenous and Creole culture, even when I was young, up until I went to college in Louisiana, because my maternal side, they had to go either to the service or they had to go to a HNCU, a historically Negro Indian college university. So I went to Grambling State University. That's where my mama went. So, and during that time, I got to experience also up close and personal at an age where I can really comprehend some shit, like know what the fuck it is, like to enjoy MardiGras and Bayou Classic in New Orleans and going all to the different all over the South to our games. It was such a rich, historical, colorful, rich, awesome time in my life. So that was in the 90s. And then I want to say in 2000, that's when I went hard. And I used to have my own street prayer ministry. If you already been on my channel, you know kind of some of my story. But if you're new to my channel, I used to have my own prayer street ministry. I've ministered to some of your favorite stars. And ain't no smut on my fucking name. They can't say nothing crazy about me. They cannot. But I have ministered to some of your favorite stars, etc. Yeah, I've put in work as a spiritual street evangelist, warriors, prophetess. Yeah, strangers will come up to me and tell me secrets they ain't never told nobody, etc. I get that. I ain't gonna say everywhere I go, but a lot of places I go. I've been a seer, knower, reader, spiritualist all my life. But I'm not going to go all into that. I wanted to share with y'all how y'all can get in touch with me if during this MardiGras Carnival time you want to get a spiritual session, life path session reading from me. You can, because I'm going hard. New Orleans Voodoo Tarot, or you can get your Indigenous astrology. I use this and some other items that I'm not showing right here, but I use some other items. I celebrate my Creole Indigenous heritage. And if you are Creole and Indigenous, I advise you to celebrate your heritage too. So, on that note, I'm closing out for real, because I didn't even mean to be on here 2 hours. I did not. So y'all saw the book sources today. We went over those. And if you want you some of them good old drinks, shout out to your ancestors. Give them a nod. Pour them some libations for them ones that put in that sugar plantation hard labor. You know? And they had other drinks too. Vu Kari cocktail, grasshopper cocktail recipe. We went over absinthe. The Bloody Marys. We was talking about the Bloody Marys earlier. I love me a good Cajun spicy Creole Bloody Mary. Yeah, I do. They the bomb. Hurricanes, I love them too. Damn. So, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Links to everything is in the description of my videos on all my social media. You got my link tree, my website, my YouTube channel, all my social medias, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Everybody be going hard on TikTok. I kind of dabble, but it's cool. But I will see y'all next Friday on Fire Fridays whether you want to say Defy Fridays, Fur Fridays, or Flambeau Fridays. All right. I love y'all. Peace. I'm out. Peace. Peace, peace, peace.